No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Well, points were gained by both teams, but minutes of our lives may have been wasted in watching the entirety of that contest. But nonetheless, it is a victory for the Winnipeg Jets. Maybe not a victory for us at home, having to sit through it in what certainly was not the game of the day or the game of the year.
Or the broadcast of the year.
Well, you know what, whatever. That's a separate issue entirely. But at the very least, if you're going to have to watch the game, and if you're a fan of the Winnipeg Jets, you're much happier with that game ending with a victory than you are with any other result. And with that prelude out of the way, I say good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. And for all that are joining us on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show with Dave Manouk. I'm your host, Drew Mandel, back at it. We just finished about just under 6 hours ago, but right back in the saddle we go. That is what we do here at Illegal Curve. Nice to see so many of you joining us on this Saturday, late afternoon, early evening. We've had that debate before, Dave M., but I don't think we need to rehash it exactly what the time frame of the day is.
No, you're right, Drew. And look, well, thank you everyone for sticking with us here at Illegal Curve Inc. I mean, it's been a long time. There will be some games that are even tighter than this one. This is a 2 o'clock start. There's an 11:30 start against Carolina. Right. And another one, is it, Drew, we talked about this already. I believe it's the Islanders game or something or Washington. Maybe Washington. I think there's also another either 11:30 or noon game. So there will be some even tighter turnarounds, but I don't know if those ones are Saturday. I think one of them might be Saturday.
One of them is a Saturday.
One of them is a Saturday. So you're going to
literally look it up right now.
You're going to literally finish the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. I may get the Illegal Curve Hockey Show podcast posted in that half an hour amount of time, and then puck drop. And then we'll be back here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. But that's not for right now. This is to focus, of course, on the hockey game we watched in Ottawa.
You're talking about it's Saturday, March the 23rd. The Jets play at 12 noon on Long Island. So the Illegal Curve Hockey Show will end at 11 a.m. and then the Jets game will start an hour later. That's the day you're talking about, where it's going to be a real quick turnaround for us.
Right. And then the 11:30 game, I don't believe I think
Sunday,
it's a Monday
the next
or
day.
Sunday. Right.
It's
okay.
The next day. Yeah.
All right. So that we don't worry about that one. Maybe we'll do a pregame show. Who knows? But anyways, believe me, it'd be nice to have a pregame show that actually spoke about this hockey game as opposed to watching, what we watched today. But anyways, again,
it's Hockey Day in Canada, Dave, or as I like to call it, H-Day. No, I'm not even going to say it. I was going to say it, but I'm not going to say it. I've been thinking about saying it all day, but I'm not going to use the acronym that only I invented.
Yes, the one that you thought was very popular, but it turned out it was only popular with you in your framework. But I will say that
I can say HNIC without any trouble. It's when it's Hockey Day in Canada, that might be where it gets a little bit risque on the acronym usage.
Sure. Okay, there you go. But anyways, the fact of the matter is that, I mean, look, it was the one player, and I tweeted this from the Illegal Curve account. The one player who I thought was outstanding and deserves a steak dinner was Connor Hellebuck. There's no question about it. We talk about him often, as he often likes to reference that Connor Hellebuck loves the afternoon starts. Yeah. Well, it didn't appear the rest of the Jets love the afternoon starts because they didn't play a very good game. There was a lot to me, and again, I would be curious to know what others observed, but to me, there seemed to be a lot of standing around, a lot of watching by the Jets, and it really was Connor Hellebuck keeping his team in it, especially during that PK specifically when they had a flurry of shots in the third period, late in the third period. There was an opportunity where, the Senators ring it off the post and then they get the puck quickly and Jets are standing around watching, almost like they thought the puck hit the post and went out of play. And good thing for Hellebuck, he was still, in position because he makes a nice stave and he stops the play. But to me, this game was all about Connor Hellebuck, really, and the Jets just didn't look like they had that flow. And so it's been a little bit of a time here now where the Jets haven't been necessarily at their best. They keep that streak going against the Eastern Conference. 12-1-3, I believe, is their record now against the East. So they have a fantastic record against the Eastern Conference. But again, this is not a game, especially, and we'll talk about the special teams, Drew.
No. Well, that's
once again, And I know the Jets PK has been better, even though they've got a bad PK overall. And we talked about this. It's not easy to get your PK when you've had half a season already. And it's in the late, in the 20s. I think they're 27th. They're at around 97% their last 7 or 8 games. They've been very good, but it's going to be hard to overcome the poor start. But the PK was good again. The power play, I think, left them wanting. And I jokingly said neither the Jets nor the Senators power play would be watched by video coaches and pointed to and say, do this.
Well, I was I was thinking about it, and I was, thinking about the game and how we would talk about it and what to break down. And I mean, look, this game could have ended a lot quicker for the Winnipeg Jets if they just take advantage of the power play opportunities. And it's not like the Senators have, we talked about it this morning on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. The Senators have one of the worst penalty kills in the league, and they take some of the most penalties in the entire NHL. So they put it on a platter for you. And the Jets couldn't take advantage of it. Now, they're not going to, had the game ended with a Jets defeat, then that would have been certainly a more significant talking point that, another one of the games this year, and there's been a number of them where, victory was there for them, but the special teams let them down. In this case, it would have been the power play. When Thomas Chabot takes a penalty 5.5 minutes in, then Brady Tkachuk takes that charging penalty in the first period. So you have multiple power play opportunities. Just take advantage of them.
Right.
That's all you have to do is you have to find a way to score on a bad team playing with a bad penalty kill. And the Jets weren't able to do that. Now, it doesn't end up biting them in the behind because of Nikolai Ehlers and his overtime winner, and we'll get to that. And, of course, because Connor Hellebuyck, when he plays an afternoon game, is the world's most powerful force, the likes of which we haven't seen, and mere mortals cannot comprehend the things that he can do when playing an afternoon game. But the Jets really, I mean, look, this had better be their worst game of the 4 that they have to play before the end, before the All-Star break and the bye week, because if it's not, they're going to lose. I mean, it's just that simple. You can't go to Boston, play like this, and expect to win. You can't do that against the Maple Leafs, even though they have, as few regulation wins as the San Jose Sharks do. And I never tire, by the way, of bringing up the stat of how few regulation wins the Leafs have. But you can't play like they played tonight and get away with it against good teams. Now, Ottawa is not a good team, and they probably deserve better and everything else and blah, 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 and all that jazz. But that's a matter of learning how to win. Ottawa doesn't know how to win. The Jets do know how to win, and that's why they pull off this victory. But you have to, know that dressing room had better be sitting there saying, this is not good enough today for us to move forward this week against Boston and then the 2 games against Toronto.
No, absolutely not. And again, this team had the benefit of rest, right? Like they got the time off from Rick Bowness. They were supposed to be rested and ready to go, and they just didn't look like a team that was ready to go. And whether it was, I mean, look, I will say, I mean, they took a lot of shots in that first period to start the game. They didn't hit the net a lot. And so Ottawa had the benefit of out shooting them because they were hitting the net, more than the Jets were. But and
not with good chances from the Senators' perspective. For sure
not. But I'm just saying that it was just funny because the Jets had a good start, and you thought, okay, but then you're looking and they're like, none of these shots are actually hitting the net, and so, anyways, it didn't. It was just sleepy. It was a sleepy first period, and of course, we'll get into the game recap. I thought the refs were way too to me. Like again, refereeing isn't. Again, we're not refs. I'm not going to pretend to be one. We ask scouting the refs when we need insight.
I used to be one, for the record. Just throwing that out there. When I was a wee lad, I did officiate minor hockey.
Sure, but what I'm ultimately trying to say here is that I don't think anybody is going to care if the refs call the game the way the game is supposed to be called. But to do what they did, which was essentially not much in the first, okay, fine. Then in the second, they go trigger happy and they're calling absolutely everything. And then in the third, you put it away, and it's like, what game are you watching? What am I supposed to be understanding here? And how is that any flow to a hockey game? And again, like I said, that's not said from a Jets perspective or a Senators perspective. That's just said from someone who watches hockey and says, just stop. It doesn't need to be done that way. Call the penalties that are egregious. Don't call the stuff that's marginal. And just let the game flow. And this idea that refs have to have an impact. And then again, you're having an impact. Because to watch that second period and see how many penalties got called, and then to watch the third And to see stuff that was, again, maybe marginal, but it was the same stuff we saw in the second, but the refs put the whistles away. Again, this is a criticism for both teams, not one in particular. I can't stand the way it impacts the flow of the game.
Yeah.
And it's just unfortunate. But like I said, ultimately, it gave both teams opportunities to do something on the special teams. Neither team did. Neither team's power play. And I highlighted one of the comment, and I appreciate the reminding folks to smash the like button. And for the record, if you listen on the podcast and you still have a YouTube channel, there's nothing stopping you from coming on here after the fact and smashing the like button. So
you'll be number one 3 times hard if you do that.
Yeah. But no, what I was going to say, and that we highlighted the comment, is just the idea that like the Jets power play is not good and it needs work. And like, you can't stress it enough. Their 5-on-5 play has been fine, but it was been very good. Sorry. And it's funny because this was the 100th goal. That includes shootout goals, I should say, but the 100th goal again. So the Jets have joined the 100 club. Some would say it's their 99th because I think they're removing one of the shootout goals. But ultimately, I mean, again, to me, this team continues. I mean, 34 straight games now, Drew, they're one off the record of the set by the Minnesota Wild in 2014-15 of 35 straight games. And the Boston Bruins did it with 44 back in, your birth year, 28, 29 of the 1900s. And then I think that's what now, the 14th, this is your big stat, the 14th straight game of allowing 2 goals or less. So, I mean, again, defensively, this team defensively has been good, despite the fact that there were some lapses tonight. And no, I was just going to say, but again, to me, I don't know that the forward lines are working. I think they need to be rejiggered a little bit because I don't think that what they've got as they've got it constructed is working.
Look, it's not working. I think you're missing. Today was I don't say today was the first game that they evidently missed Mark Scheifele, because they definitely missed him against Philadelphia as well. But today was just it was a grind, and you could see that it was a struggle. Velarde, Lowry, and Connor, were nothing to write home about today. No. I believe the Jets' best line from my perspective was Nemesnikov, Ehlers, and Perfetti. I thought they were the line that had the most zone time and the most possession positive line. And my eye test is backed up by the numbers here. Look, it was not a very good game by the Winnipeg Jets. And, we'll praise them to the high heavens when they deserve it, and we'll criticize them even in the face of a victory. And that's what they get. So you're happy you get the 2 points. You don't miss out on that opportunity or anything like that. But it was a grind for the Winnipeg Jets today. And look, Connor Hellebuck was the reason. And we've said it so many times, and he hasn't had to be the reason as many games this year as in past games. Right. But today, when they needed him the most, he stood up for them and made the key saves throughout the course of the game until Nikolai Ehlers was able to pull it off there at the end. I mean, this was not a very appealing game. The overtime was entertaining.
It was the opposite of the game.
Yeah, it was the opposite
really
of the game.
Was.
I mean, I checked. I mean, again, and the entirety of the game, Dave, high danger chances. The Senators had 7. The Jets had 5. I mean, that is a dull hockey game.
Exactly.
When you each team is combining for 12. Is combining where you're combining for 12 high danger chances at 5-on-5 in the course of the game. And then it's not like the power plays were lighten things up either, even though there were so many power play opportunities in the course of the game. Each team's power play was not very entertaining. I thought the Jets power plays, at least they had some zone time at the very least, but again, all in all, this was not an aesthetically pleasing game by any stretch of the imagination. But that said, the Jets will gladly run away. They are back atop the NHL standings, depending on what happens later on today with Vancouver and with Boston. But regardless of what happens there, the Jets will be atop in points percentage, which is, again, a good place to be. So when you can say they don't play well and you can criticize them for not playing well, at the same time, you're still the top team in the NHL. So you can get all praise for that. Statistic being the case. And like you said, they kept everything to the outside for the most part. Connor Hellebuck did his yeoman's job, and the goals against streaks that are, as I believe, not being really emphasized or talked about enough, not in Winnipeg obviously, but just how impressive they are, that they've gone 34 straight games now giving up 3 goals or less. 22 straight giving up 2 goals or less in regulation and 14 straight giving up 2 goals or less in general. That to me, those numbers are so incredible that I don't think enough people are paying attention to just how significant an achievement that is.
No, that to me is the standout from these games, right? Because Ottawa just finished a game, their last one, where they won 6-2, right? You're talking about a team that even when you're not playing optimally, even when your best players are out of the lineup, or even when your team just, again, doesn't have it going on, you're able to still play within a certain structure. And ultimately, you don't want to do this because, Rick Bowness on Friday literally said to us about how this team doesn't fall back into the bad habits from a few years ago. Now their habits to fall back into are the ones that he and his staff have tried to instill in this team since they took over. But I mean, one of the habits we've characterized from this Jets club, when you have the Vezina goaltender that they do, is that they tend to allow him to save games for them. And so again, to my mind, watching this team, there were some breakdowns, which you expect in hockey games. That's like Rick Bowness said, you're always going to have that in a hockey game. No team is perfect, not even the best. But ultimately, Connor Hellebuyck, once again, making a statement about how he is the best goaltender in the NHL. Because, I mean, look, he was beaten on a nice play, with it, and I won't do it too much because we don't have that many goals to go over. So I don't want to ruin the recap.
The Betway game recap won't take very long.
But I've also got a Moose game. But I've also got a Moose game to get to in 1 hour's time. So I mean, I'm gonna have to do a quick outfit change because they won't let me wear my hoodie and my sweatsuit. I'm gonna have to change it from my sweatsuit into my regular suit. So it'll be I'll be at a certain point. We'll have to bug out. But at the end of the day, you look at what this team can do, and we've said this, Drew, how many times on the show. You don't apologize for having the best goaltender in the league.
No, you do not.
You just don't. I mean, that's just a statement of fact. And some games, when your team isn't like firing on all cylinders, you get to fall back on having Connor Hellebuyck. And so this team has done that today. And again, this team has still continued to do what is, again, it's a remarkable feat. And if you look at the teams that have done what they're doing right now, with all of these defensive metrics, those teams do not necessarily always win the Stanley Cup, but oftentimes they're right there. And that's a statement for what this team has accomplished through 44 games of the season.
I agree wholeheartedly with everything you said there. Let's get into the Betway game recap on this Saturday afternoon, talking about the Jets' 2-1 victory over the Ottawa Senators.
The Betway game recap.
Before we get into the Betway game recap, and I want to say a big thank you to our friends at Betway as well. I just want to make sure that I see that Al is in the chat, and Al joins us from Cyprus, and I see Brent is in the chat, and I believe Brent is joining us from Japan. And I think that Al and Brent are friends who may have reconnected here in the chat room. So Al and Brent, if we've made connection and rekindled friendship between Cyprus, Japan, and the Winnipeg Jets and Illegal Curve, tell us about it in the chat, because I think that'll be an interesting story at the very least. So I saw that sort of conversation going on out of the back of my eye, or out of the corner of my eye, and I want to know what's going on with that conversation between Al and Brent and Cyprus and Japan and worldwide here, of course, on the Illegal Curve.
We are worldwide
show. I know we are. That's the beauty of the internet, my friend. It is a Saturday afternoon. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk with you here on this, the 20th day of January, talking about the Jets 2-1 victory over the Ottawa Senators.
3-2, Drew.
I was getting ahead of myself. 2-1. My apologies. It is the Betway game recap. The scoring doesn't start till the second period, but that first period was nothing to write home about for either team. It was the proverbial feeling out period. The Jets getting a whopping 4 shots on goal, despite having 2 power play opportunities. The Senators getting 7 shots on goal, despite having 1 power play opportunity. It certainly was not a riveting first period. I thought the most entertaining part was Brendan Dillon standing up for Dominic Toninato after Brady Tkachuk shockingly had a questionable hit on a player, and Brendan Dillon coming up and standing up for his teammate after that penalty that he was assessed and the subsequent fight.
Yeah, I agree, Drew, and I thought Brendan Dillon was honorable with his decision making, because he could have pounded Tkachuk into smithereens if he wanted to, because Tkachuk got his jersey up and over his head. So if Dylan really wanted to do some damage, he could have, and he chose to just stop the fight at that point. But no, I mean, of course, that's part and parcel to me to what this team is all about and how they stand up for each other and how they defend each other. And so he doesn't like the hit. And like I said, the one thing I hate in hockey, like when Brad Lambert got pulverized in Laval, you understand why the teams want to come to his defense, but it was a clean hit. There's nothing wrong with that hit. And so I don't like it when guys have to fight after delivering a clean hit, because otherwise, what's the point of having hitting in hockey?
Right.
But when you have a hit that is questionable, and Tkachuk is not exactly known as being the cleanest of players, that despite the fact that his mom was in attendance watching with all the other senators' moms before they go on the Sens mom's trip.
Yeah.
So, and she's of course a
I was going to say
Winnipeg.
she's a Winnipegger. Do you think she had felt any allegiance to the Jets, or are you pretty sure she was cheering for the for Brady and the Senators at that point in time?
I'm pretty sure she was instrumental in getting Keith to sign that offer sheet from the Chicago Blackhawks, which I still haven't forgiven him for. But anyways, that's a story for another day. I'm joking, by the way. I don't know that she was instrumental in said offer sheet, which was that. What was that, like $6 million a year or something like that at the time?
Something like
I think it was like a 3-year deal at $6 million.
But it was front loaded, if you remember. So that's how because the Jets were, of course, on their way out for this is Jets 1.0, and so they made it so that a lot of the money had to be paid by the team when it was still in Winnipeg, as opposed to when it had moved was going to move to Arizona. Yeah,
but anyways, so look, I just like that he stands up for him, and I thought the comments by Brendan Dillon, I was going to save it for the second intermission, Drew, but I can read them now, because I like the way he spoke when he was actually doing his post-game interview, and he was asked about the Jets and having fun in Winnipeg. And so his comment was, "It's been a blast from day one of training camp. A lot of new faces here this year, but we're just having fun. We're enjoying it. We're playing a complete team game, and I think everyone's reaping the benefits individually." He went on to speak about how unselfish the team has been and praised head coach Rick Bowness for how he's, quote, running the ship the right way. And again, at this point, the Jets are up 1-0. So, I mean, I'm jumping ahead before we jump back, but I just think it speaks to, the way this team, again, even in the games that they're not loving overall, are just having a good time, and how they are like, I don't want to say a brotherhood, because I think every team's like that for the most part, but they just seem to have a lot of fun, this group. And, winning is, of course, a fun thing. This team doesn't do a lot of losing, of course. So, but I think it just spoke to the idea that this team is very connected. And so, and again, that now pulling it back to the Toninato. So you see Toninato kind of go down, holding his head a little bit. So he comes to his defense, and you like to see that from a guy like Brendan Dillon.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You do like to see that for Brendan Dillon standing up for his teammate in that instance. So no scoring after 20 minutes, certainly a dull 20 minutes.
Ooh.
The second period wasn't much better. The Senators were certainly the better of the two teams in that second period, but the Jets do open the scoring, and it comes at the 14:35 mark of the second period. He's on a heater, Mason Appleton, after being snake bit for so many games. He finally gets off the schneid, and as it usually happens, they begin to come one after another. We'll see if there's another to come after that, but it is his 8th of the season, assist to Nino Niederreiter and Dylan Samberg, and it's a very nice play. It's a flip pass by Samberg that really starts it off, and then Niederreiter and Appleton is able to get to the middle of the ice, and he snipes it past Eunice Corpusalo, who actually played a pretty good game for the Senators, and it's 1-0 for the Jets at this point in time.
Well, and did you see his numbers against the Jets, Drew? I mean, he's been very good against Winnipeg. I think he's won 4 of his last 5 games against the Jets. So Corpusalo is one of the guys who enjoys when the Winnipeg Jets are in town or coming to Winnipeg, of course, especially when it's -20. Who doesn't love that? But Mason Appleton, I mean, we talked about it. It's amazing because I was looking at the numbers. And, with the exception of the COVID-shortened season when they only played 56 games, that was his best year, because he put out, I think he had 12 goals that year in 56 games. Of course, had they played more, he would have scored more, but he's on pace for 14. So it's amazing to see that a guy is about to hit a career high, could hit a career high this year, despite the fact that he had a 25-game goalless drought in between his goal in the Islanders game and his last goal prior to that. So Mason Appleton, you can just see the joy level for him, at least, getting in on that. And to me, the impressive part about this, when I watched the replay of it just after the goal was scored, was every guy on that on the ice touch the puck. So sure, the assists go to Sandberg and Niederreiter,
Right.
but Toninato and Schmidt both played a role in directing that puck, up towards the ice, or I guess technically Toninato put it back, but or Schmidt put it back. But the point is that they eventually got it moving in the right direction. So it's a
200-foot goal, to your point, because it starts behind the Jets net, or it starts right by Connor Hellebuck with the breakout play. That's where the Jets, where now the Jets are also, I think, fortunate on this one, Dave, that Drake Batherson plays it in the way that he does, where he tries to jump to catch the puck or knock it down rather than sort of stay with his guy. That leads to the odd man rush. But for the Jets, it's you see them, the breakout, and everybody is supporting one another to get to that point where they're able to transition the puck well. So that is, to your point, I think, where the Jets are. That's a good sign for the Jets, and that there's still nobody's cheating there. They're focusing on the defensive side first. That eventually leads to the offensive opportunity.
No, and that's exactly what it comes down to, right? Is the fact that you make the right reads, you play that puck well, and credit Dylan Sandberg. I jokingly said he may not score another goal this season, or a goal this season, but he's up to 12 assists, and it was a nice heads-up play. And whether he intended that pass to set up what obviously ultimately came about, which of course was the Niederreiter, was a 3-on-1 with Niederreiter, Toninato, and Appleton. It was a nice play, and it was a good, again, it was a good vision by the young man to kind of get that opportunity for his teammates. And, look, credit Niederreiter for passing it over to Appleton. And Appleton, again, when you're starting to feel a little bit better about your game, you start to, you're not tensing up. You're not holding on to the stick too tightly. And Appleton having scored that goal the last game, he scores a pretty nice goal for his 8th of the season. So he's feeling good, and the Jets are feeling good, because even if they're not playing the best period, they're up 1-0.
Right. Good teams find a way, et cetera, because that, possession wise, that second period was pretty awful. The Jets only had 21% of the possession at 5-on-5 in that second period. So the Senators really were the better of the two teams. If it wasn't for Connor Hellebuck, it could have been very much an Ottawa Senators lead rather than a Jets lead. Go ahead. Yeah, Dave.
Well, I was going to say, and specifically going back to I don't remember which power player for the Senators or penalty kill for the Jets it was specifically, but there was the one where it was towards the end of the second, and literally the sound of the puck hitting Connor Hellebuck's pad, it was like boom, makes the save, boom, makes the save. But it was unbelievable, because the Sens had great pressure and he was unbelievable.
Yeah, well, that's Connor Hellebuck in a nutshell for the Winnipeg Jets, and has been for many, many years. So 1-0 for the Jets after 20 minutes, and then the third period starts, and the question is,
Drew, we're already into 40 minutes. What are you talking about? You said 20 minutes.
Sorry, you're right, because there was nothing in that first period. We told you that the Betway game recap was going to be
sleep.
a relative. Yeah, well, the game put me to sleep a little bit. Thankfully, my daughter was listening to a podcast. And even though I offered her to put her headphones on, she decided she didn't want it. She wanted Daddy to hear the podcast at the same time. And to be honest, the podcast was a lot more entertaining than different parts of this game. So thanks to Aaron for keeping me entertained that way. But 1-0 for the Jets, and then the Ottawa Senators, and they deservingly so, get a tying goal 4 minutes and 43 seconds into the third period. Ironically, it's after what I thought was one of the Jets' better shifts. In the course of the game, the Jets didn't have very many successful shifts at 5-on-5. I thought it was one of the better ones, but the Senators transition up the ice, and it is, I believe, Parker Kelly getting his 6th goal of the year for the Senators. Certainly not what I would describe as a household name, but he gets the assist from Vladimir Tarasenko and Josh Norris, returning to the Senators lineup earlier in today's game after missing 4 games with an upper body injury. Parker Kelly getting his goal, and the Senators tie it up. It's just really the story of the game for the Jets, in that they're just a quarter of a step or half a step behind where they are on their details. They're not out of position per se. They are where they're supposed to be. They're just not reacting as quickly as they should be. And on this one, that's what you saw. You saw Ehlers. He goes after Tarasenko to try and prevent the pass from coming from low to high from behind the net. You have Nemesnikov and you have Perfetti, and they're just a quarter a step behind behind Parker Kelly, and it's on and off his stick. It's a great pass from Tarasenko. He's got up to 19 assists on this year, and it's a nice shot by Parker Kelly, who has the opportunity and is able to do so. And so as a result, it's 1-1 at this point, 5 minutes, just before 5 minutes into the third period. Big thank you to Mo for providing us with a little bit of cash, and shout out to Jeff Stern. If that's my cousin Jeff Stern, then yes, shout out to my cousin Jeff Stern as well. If it's a different Jeff Stern, then so be it as well. But we appreciate the support there, Mo, and I think I saw one from earlier from Perry William Cousin. Yeah. So thanks to Perry as well for lining our pockets with a little bit of cash. It's unnecessary, but it is always appreciated. It'll pay for some food and beverage for both of us over the course of this weekend.
Actually, Drew, what it pays for is the streaming equipment that we're currently using.
But
what I mean. Regardless, I do want to highlight this comment because it comes through Twitter, but it was funny because I got to give David Smith credit. I said, we have passed over the boring first period to discuss the second period between Winnipeg and Ottawa on the illegal, although I called it illegal post-game show.
Spelling is difficult.
It is difficult. Well, hey, when you're trying to pay attention during the show, it is. But David Smith wrote back, if you're going through the boring parts quickly, it will be the fastest post-game ever. So that's a pretty good comment. Made me chuckle. Sorry. So let's get back to what was your question, Drew?
I was just talking about the Senators tying goal, how the Jets were just sort of a quarter step behind.
Yeah.
And they were for most of the game, but you saw it, you saw the visual evidence thereof on that tying goal.
No, for sure. You're right. And the one thing, again, it's unfortunate because Sandberg and Schmidt are kind of caught standing behind the net, and neither one is kind of wanting the puck at that point. Yeah. And then Schmidt tries to find, him, and the puck gets intercepted by Norris, who gets it over to Tarasenko. And like you said, Drew, I mean, they're just, Kelly has a half step on Nemesnikov. He can't get in front, and it's just bang, bang, bang. And it's quick. And that was the key, right? Because Connor Hellebuck had been making every other stop, but that was a real quick play, and it's 1-1, and it's 5 minutes into the third period. So you're like, okay, well, it just can't win them all. It's not going to be a high scoring game based on the way things have gone through 45 minutes of that hockey game. So I wasn't anticipating that the 34 game record was in jeopardy, or any of the, to be honest with you, even the more than 2 goal record was in jeopardy. But the Jets winning, which of course is ultimately the most important thing of this hockey game, despite all the streaks and the records, those are all nice. But the points are what matters, and the points are what put you back into first place in the NHL. So that is the focus. And the way that the Jets seem to kind of, to me, there was a lot of standing around. And, after they made it 1-1, the play that I highlight, at least for myself watching that game, was the Josh Morrissey, Dylan DeMello kind of standing. The puck is in between them.
Yeah.
And so Morrissey, you're right. And so Morrissey standing there, he's look, I'm not one to criticize Josh Morrissey because he's been so phenomenal. But again, he doesn't mean he's immune from criticism. And he just seemed to be standing there watching it, thinking it was DeMello's puck. And I think DeMello was watching it thinking it's Morrissey's puck. Well, the only guy who was thinking it's his puck was Brady Tkachuk. So he goes through both of them, sets up what could have been a very good chance for the Senators. And DeMello has to kind of make a diving play. But to me, that was kind of indicative of the way the Jets were standing around and watching throughout the course of this hockey game. And ultimately, you had to make some last second kind of heroics or a Connor Hellebuck save to kind of bail your team out from some of the mistakes, the indecision, the indecisiveness that we saw in this hockey game.
Yeah, the Jets were not sharp, and you're absolutely right. There were a number of indecisive plays throughout the course of the game that very easily could have bit the Jets in the behind. They didn't, which the Jets are fortunate for, but that certainly was not. It was not a pretty game by any stretch. I mean, and third period, look, Ottawa almost won the game. What I would describe as in regulation. There was the puck that was sort of Brady Tkachuk again, where he tried to knock it in off of the back of Connor Hellebuck
and went up and over,
up on top of the mesh. I mean, that could have very easily, as Greg Millen alluded to on the broadcast, that very easily could, instead of going up and onto the top of that drops down and trickles down Hellebuck's back, and the Jets are in trouble, and all of a sudden they might be trailing 2-1. They get into the third, they get into overtime, and you certainly will take the 1 point at the very least because you haven't played very well. Right. And at the worst case scenario means you still get 1 point out of this contest. But the overtime was an entertaining one. There were chances at both ends.
And remember, Drew, before you ruin it, and for people who don't know, the end result, I think it was as you mentioned it on this.
Are we not doing spoiler alerts? What's
But,
happening on this post-game show? Are there no spoiler alerts?
Exactly. But no, joking aside, I mean, I think it was Ezzy who mentioned it on this morning show.
Yeah.
That the Senators hadn't lost. I mean, I think it was only their 5th time they've gone to overtime or a shootout.
Oh, I think 3rd or 4th or something. It was even fewer. It was even fewer than that. You're saying they hadn't lost in overtime or a shootout?
No, I don't. I think it was only the 4th or 5th time. I think today was the 5th time they've been in an overtime or shootout. I don't think many of their games have gone to extra time is what I think is what I thought.
It's 4th. You're right. Because they have 13. They have 16 wins overall, 13 wins in regulation, which means those 3 games. And then today was their first overtime defeat. So this was their 4th overtime game of the entire season, which is probably the lowest number in the league, although the Jets would be fairly low there as well.
Yeah, and I think that was the conversation we were having with Paulie. Now that I think about it, Paulie Edmonds, who met. So it was Paul. I gave Ezzy the credit, but it was actually Paul who made.
Don't
give
Ezzy any credit.
I will try to remove that, but it was Paul who made the comment about overtime and special teams, and I'm pretty sure. I don't want to say there was a Ginsburg guarantee, but it may have been that Ezzy called it a 2-1 OT win. So
he also called Laurent Brossoit being the goalie today. So
he did. He owes you a massage or $100 or whatever it is that he's donating to you. But look, this is I mean, overtime was the complete opposite of what we saw through 60 minutes. It was exciting. There were chances at both ends of the ice, and again, it's funny because I remember just before he scored, and I'll let you set it up, but before he scored, I was watching Nikolai Ehlers, and all I could think about was they should not let him come off for overtime.
It's true.
Like, he should literally not be allowed. They should call it. They should save their timeout, use the timeout to give him a breather, and he should be playing all of over. You might want to limit his minutes throughout the course of a hockey game.
We're keeping you fresh in case of overtime, Nikolai.
Sure. But in OT, that guy should be playing the whole 5 minutes.
Yeah, he is dynamic at 3-on-3. And you mentioned timeouts. Credit to Rick Bowness, he did take that timeout. Yeah. When there was a defensive zone draw, I believe it was going to be next to Connor Hellebuck after Hellebuck made the save. He took a timeout. The Jets won that faceoff. Which again calmed things down and settled things down. And before we get into the Ehlers overtime winner, spoiler alert, something to keep an eye on. Gabe Vilardi did not play in overtime for the Winnipeg Jets. So that is something that is, I don't know if that's an injury related issue, or what was going on there, but it is worth noting that Gabe Vilardi did not have any overtime shifts for the Jets, which is a bit of a surprise because you think, maybe overtime that isn't necessarily where he's best suited. Because it's more, more of a speed.
So throw Adam Lowry. You want speed? Wait.
Yeah, Lowry.
But they want to win the faceoffs. I understand. I'm joking.
Yeah, that was a faceoff related thing. I don't think Nino Niederreiter didn't play in overtime either. So again, not those two guys aren't necessarily the fastest players that the Jets have, but it was very much Kyle Connor, Nikolai Ehlers. Those guys were the horses for the Winnipeg Jets in overtime. So much so that Nikolai Ehlers ended the game for the Jets at the 4:12 mark. He puts the Jets in the winning side of the ledger, and he's also the Seagram shot of the game.
The Seagram shot of the game.
Big thanks to our friends at Seagrams for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. If you're not doing dry January, or maybe you're doing a modified version.
You're obviously
of dry
not, because you were drinking an icy.
And I have my Fireball here as well. No, I'm not doing dry January. I like to keep a nice steady buzz on throughout the course of the 12 months of the year. That's my baseline. But if you are having a beverage in tonight's post-game festivities or whatever you're up to tonight, may we recommend one of the fine Seagram products, Seagram's 83, Seagram's VO, or of course the Fireball that I had handy. Our friends at Seagram's are proud supporters of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Nikolai Ehlers at 3-on-3 is just so much fun to watch, and he makes Jacob Chychrun just look silly. When you're flat-footed and Nikolai Ehlers is coming at you with a head of speed, you are in a lot of trouble. Yeah. And Ehlers just walks Jacob Chychrun and then goes to the backhand and fires it past Eunice Korpisalo, assistant Neil Pionk, and Vlad Nemesnikov. It's with 44 seconds to go in OT, and the Jets escape the nation's capital with a 2-1 victory as a result of the Ehlers goal, Dave?
Well, first of all, and also Drew, you got to mention the kicking the puck up to from after he makes the move on Chychrun, he kicks the puck up to himself, and then he makes that backhand, as Don Cherry calls it, the hardest shot to block in hockey, and it was a beauty. I mean, it was that his 16th the goal of the season,
16th of the year.
Yeah, I mean, this Nikolai Ehlers is again one of the most important players on this Jets club. I mean, it is what it is, and he is. You know, we've talked about it. Others have talked about it. You need a guy like this who's dynamic and can, do the things that he's able to do. And remember, he's not at 100% because it was like last week where he was dealing with an upper body that made him questionable. Of course, he scored, I think, the game winner against Chicago, but he's been dealing with something. So he's not at 100%. Then again, it's that point of the season, 44 games through, where nobody is at 100%. But
that's why you got to get through this week. Get through this week, and then you get your week off, your 10 days off, whatever it might be. Then you get a little bit of a break.
Yeah, no, and so to me, it was a unbelievable play by Ehlers. I mean, you just can't. The superlatives, as Drew Mindell would like to say, are plenty to describe how significant this guy was and how significant that goal was. And look, it's 3-on-3. Like anything can happen. And Kyle Connor had chances. But you knew, to me, it felt like it was a Connor or Ehlers type of situation where they were going to have a chance to end it. And sure enough, Nikolai Ehlers does. I believe that was, I could be wrong. I think I said his 32nd, but it's either his 32nd or 33rd game winning goal, which is 4th all time on the Jets. Kyle Connor, no surprise, has 47. Mark Scheifele, 46. Blake Wheeler, 41. And Nikolai Ehlers in 4th with 32 or 33. So, I mean, no surprise, right? That Nikolai Ehlers would get that opportunity. And just a highlight reel goal. And again, just, I think, to me, a testament of this Jets club, which even in games they don't deserve to win, they're winning, right? Like, this is something we probably wouldn't have seen in years past. In a game where
they lose this game in regulation last year.
Right.
I mean, they lose when, in years past, when the Jets weren't clicking on full cylinders, when they everything wasn't going right, they were more likely to lose the game than find a way to win it. Just because, when you're a team, it does take time to find a way to win games like this, where things aren't working, where you're indecisive, where the puck isn't connecting, stick to stick, things of that nature. The Jets don't win this game in previous years, and I say that with a fair degree of confidence. Just the nature of it. Today they find a way to do it, but in years past, I don't think they're able to do that, Dave.
Yeah, and I'm going to highlight this comment from Joe Phoenix because I agree. And you mentioned we talked about it earlier, but it's definitely no question that you're missing your number one center, and that's it. It was evident, like you said, Drew, earlier in the show. It was evident that you were missing Mark Scheifele. I jokingly tweeted at a certain point, maybe it was in the second period, I said, if folks remember when Elaine did the get well soon we want you to get well from Seinfeld, they may want to start singing that to Mark Scheifele, and we'll see again. Jets are scheduled right now to practice tomorrow in Boston. So I trust that Ken Wiebe will be there for the Winnipeg Free Press, and whatever he reliably reports, we will have on illegalcurve.com for your edification. So that information will be updated as soon as we know it. But again, you hope that he skates, because if he does, then I'm not saying he's playing on Monday, but it means he's getting closer to that again. Or if he doesn't skate tomorrow, then we'll see what kind of evaluation he goes through. Ultimately, he's being given treatments, right? So that's what we're seeing from Mark. That's what we know with respect to Mark Scheifele. That's why he's on the road trip, which is a good sign, because that means he could play. And it'll be interesting to see what they do. I mean, again, anticipation, we can talk about this after, of what sort of roster moves they'll end up making. But ultimately, like I said, this Jets club picks up a win. Connor Hellebuck was full marks for my money. If you're putting it out there, like he was the reason why they picked up 2 points. But you got to credit Nikolai Ehlers for that goal, because it was spectacular. And as good as Connor Hellebuck is, he can't score goals. He doesn't have any to his name yet. He's got some assists. I believe his dad Chuck was talking about whether he could score a goal, but as of right now, he doesn't have a goal. So, anyways, we'll see what ends up happening. But as you said, Drew, you got the points, which you're happy about. You move on, you focus on Boston, but you got to play tighter, because again, first of all, that Austin, I almost called him Austin. It's like from
from road trip.
Yeah. But where is he?
Massachusetts.
Austin, Massachusetts. But anyways, that's a great movie, by the way. It's a complete aside. But I will say that, Boston, I don't think they forgot the drubbing they received on December 22nd against the Winnipeg Jets. Was that 5-1? Was that the final?
Yeah, something. It was a one-sided contest.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure it was 5-1 for
Yeah.
the Bruins that night. I wasn't on the post-game show with you and Ez, but the fact of the matter is they got, they probably don't forget. And look, it's a battle of two teams that are the top teams right now in the West and the East. So that Boston is going to be ready to go, and the Jets have to be ready. They have to be better. They have to be sharper. The special teams have to be better because, again, I shouldn't say that. The PK has been good.
Yeah.
The power play has to be refined. They need to focus. If they've got this time, Drew, now is the time to be focused on the power play. If you have an hour practice, forget about the 5-on-5 because that's good. Figure out the power play.
The funny comment from Phil Smithson, Boston on Monday, Austin Matthews on Wednesday, and of course next Saturday it'll be a full Jets Leafs broadcast. That'll be a big game next Saturday on home ice between the.
I'm sure there'll be lots of
teams.
Jets talk.
Yeah. Dave. Alrighty, before we wrap up the Betway game recap, a reminder: this coming Wednesday, the Jets and Leafs are going to do battle. It's going to be 6:00 Central Time. We're going to be at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue, and we encourage you to come and join us. Come watch the Jets and the Toronto Maple Leafs, and then stick around for a live on location edition of the Illegal Curve post-game show. That's this coming Wednesday, Boston Pizza, Taylor Avenue. That's 1160 Taylor, the corner of Taylor and Nathaniel. Join yours truly, join Dave M., join Ezra Ginsburg, and all your friends and family. Join us all Wednesday, January 24th, 6 p.m. live at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue. The Jets win 2-1, not the prettiest victory, but a victory nonetheless. The Illegal Curve post-game show rolls on. Don't go anywhere. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk with you, bottom of the 5:00 hour on this Saturday evening.
Your coworkers love you because you always make them laugh. You're the life of the party with stories that have them rolling on the floor. Or maybe you're just the quiet one in the corner with the one-liners that just slay. Do you have what it takes to become Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job? Try your luck. Hit the stage at Rumors Comedy Club, and you could be walking away with $1,000 cash. Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job. Presented by Rumors. For all the details, head to rumorscomedyclub.com.
You guys ever wish for a game changer in life?
Like finding out your favorite snack has 0 calories?
Or discovering the mute button on Ezzy?
Picture this, a secret weapon for parking, where you can book a spot a whole month in advance.
Tell me more, Drew.
Pre-book your parking at really low rates, or maybe even for free if you use the code Illegal Curve.
Free? What is this, sorcery?
The Grid Park app. It's a real secret weapon that has affordable game day parking, and to sweeten the deal even more,
I love sweets.
our listeners can use the code Illegal Curve to park for free.
Holy Zamboni!
Tell me about it. Just download Grid Park, GRYD Park, and use the code Illegal Curve, all one word, to park for free.
The game can change just like that. Accidents happen when you aren't protected. So now what? Getting to your injury quickly can make all the difference. Help prevent them from being game changers with Linden Market Dental Center. Bonding, crowns, bridges, and dental implants. State-of-the-art treatments are available to help you get back in the game. To learn more, visit LindenMarketDentalCenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
This January at Boston Pizza, every day is Pasta Tuesday. That means BP's famous pastas start at just $11.99 every single day. Create your own or go gourmet for just a few bucks more. Come on in for Pasta Tuesday pricing any day. Only this January at Boston Pizza.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's transfer, moving, and storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rollies and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at rollies.com.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. We're back on the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk with you on this Saturday evening. In case you missed any of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, that happened earlier this morning. The live replay or the replay of the show is available on our YouTube channel. And of course, the podcast edition of the show is available, much like this show will be available in a similar way right after there. There you go. CMAC is finding out all about the Grid Park, and Grid Park is, of course, a loyal supporter of us here at the Illegal Curve post-game show. So use code Illegal Curve and you can park for free with our friends at Grid Park. That is GRYD Park. Tell them Illegal Curve sent you. That's the important pieces of information there, Mr. Minuk. The Moose will be in action this evening. You're headed that way in the not so distant future to spend your Saturday night in downtown Winnipeg.
I am. I'm trading in my sweatsuit for a regular suit, and Stu Smith says it's only 5:30, guys. What am I supposed to do now? Hang out with my family? No, Stu. You can come hang out with me. Well, not literally with me, because Perry, the security guard, will stop you, but you can come and hang out at Canada Life and watch the Moose take on the Griffins, and they'll need to have a better effort today, I suspect. So I had a 4-1 lead, saw it dissolve yesterday, ended up being a 5-4 OT loss.
Yes.
But we'll see what's in store for these Moosies coming up in the rematch tonight. And of course, we'll have that recap on illegalcurve.com.
That's there you go, David. We'll have that covered in its entirety. Some more numbers from Connor Hellebuyck, as we know how great he was today. Again, for the Jets, he's now up to a .927 save percentage and a 2.15 goals against average. Our buddy Jim Toth reminds us that the year he won the Vezina Trophy, in 58 starts, he had a 2.57 goals against average and a .922 save percentage. So just how incredible Connor Hellebuyck is. And you absolutely, I think it was Ezzy who tweeted this earlier this week, and far be it from me to want to give him credit, but we do need to normalize Connor Hellebuyck as a Hart Trophy candidate. I know goalies for whatever reason aren't allowed to win that trophy, but he certainly is the most valuable player for the Winnipeg Jets. Say that again, Dave.
I think it's only been 4 times ever,
something like that. But if not Hellebuyck, then whom? Because right now he has been that good for the Winnipeg Jets. Tough Duck, hardest hitting comment. We need to do that before we can wrap tonight's post game show.
The Tough Duck hardest hitting comment.
We're going to give tonight's Tough Duck hardest hitting comment to Shane Dog Winnipeg. Now, I don't know if Shane is actually a dog who can type, which would be pretty cool, or if Shane has a dog named, has a dog named Winnipeg, whatever it might be. Shane Dog Winnipeg says this OT winner had to come from a one-man effort because the Jets refused to go to the front of the net where goals are typically scored. And I tend to agree. This was not the Jets' best effort in terms of getting traffic in front of the net and making things difficult for Jonas Korpisalo. But Nikolai Ehlers said, don't worry about it, guys. I'll do it on my own, walking Jacob Trickren and then beating him with a backhand. So Shane Dog Winnipeg, congratulations on your victory in tonight's Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. Send me an email, drew@illegalcurve.com, or you can slide into my DMs at ICDrew, and we'll make sure that we send you off a toque, courtesy of our friends at Tough Duck, for your witty and astute comment. The Jets 2-1 victors over the Ottawa Senators. We will next be in action, Dave M. On Monday night, the Jets head to Boston. Later tonight, they'll spend the off day, whether or not they practice or not. I guess I shouldn't say it's an off day. They're scheduled for a practice.
Right.
They'll practice in Boston tomorrow, and then we'll have coverage of the Bruins and the Jets, the Illegal Curve post-game show, probably around 8:30 or so, 8:30, 8:40 on Monday night, with the early 6 p.m. Central Time puck drop. So we look forward to that and everyone joining us back here on our YouTube channel for that. As we mentioned, Dave M's going to have coverage of tonight's Moose game, so you can stay tuned to @ICDave and, of course, illegalcurve.com for all the latest on the Manitoba Moose, as well as the latest. Go ahead.
No, sorry. I was just going to say quickly, although he's going to be disappointed because Tyrell Bauer is not playing, but I did mention to Tyrell Bauer yesterday after practice that his biggest fan is T-Kona Pauly, and he was very excited. And he said, "I would like to meet that guy." So that could be in his future, but I thought T-Kona Pauly would be happy to hear that I mentioned him to Tyrell Bauer. So T-Kona Pauly is Tyrell Bauer is very familiar with T-Kona Pauly.
You're creating a bromance right before our very eyes. You got there's Brent in Japan and Al in Cyprus and Dave and Tyrell Bauer and T-Kona Pauly all together. It's a beautiful thing that we're seeing here on Illegal Curve. Big thanks to all of our sponsors: Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club. Oh, sorry, where's Frosty? Did he put it up there already?
No, he hasn't put it up there yet.
There you go. Wherever Frosty is, we'll get him to put it up. Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club. Of course, I've been drinking this delicious Farmery beer throughout the course of the podcast. That is Illegal Curve beer, available at Farmery Brewing, number 2 Donald Street, or on all of your delivery apps. Get yourself some delicious ice cold Illegal Curve lager. A great way to spend a Saturday evening. Grid Park, use code Illegal Curve to park for free. Our friends at Linden Market Dental Center. Zappia Group Realty, Betway, they're the title sponsor of this post-game show. Tough Duck, we just gave away a Tough Duck toque. We'll do it again on Monday. Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, and Boston Pizza, where we will be on Wednesday for the Jets and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Big thanks to all of you for joining us this morning and again this afternoon for the Illegal Curve post-game show. As always, it has been an absolute ton of fun. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to the YouTube channel, smash the like button, leave us feedback here, there, and everywhere about this fine program, and be sure to tell your friends, tell your family the best place to be after each and every Winnipeg Jets game. And again, on Saturday mornings is the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. Jets win 2-1 over the Ottawa Senators. For Dave Minuk, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Have a great Saturday, everyone. Whatever you do, be safe in doing so. We'll see you back here on Monday night. Until then, we wish you good night and good luck, and thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, follow @Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.